We've been hurt, yeah, but we still deserve it. Trauma tried to split us. Everybody talks about the Matrix, but most people don't actually understand what that means. A lot of people think it's just a movie, something fictional, or something entertaining. But what if it's not? What if the Matrix isn't something you're plugged into, but something you're living inside of every day? Because when you really start paying attention, you begin to notice patterns, the same routines, the same distractions, the same cycles, and it's repeating over and over again. Wake up, you guys. Check your phone. Go to work. You come home. You scroll and you sleep. And you do it again the next day. And it starts to feel normal because everybody else is doing it too. But that's the thing about the Matrix. It doesn't feel like a trap because it's familiar. It's comfortable and it's predictable. And it keeps you just busy enough to never stop and question anything. Because the moment you slow down, the moment you sit in silence, the moment you actually think for yourself, you start to notice that things don't feel right. You start to realize how much of your time is being consumed, how much of your attention is being controlled, and how much of your life is being lived on autopilot. And let me tell you, you guys, when I started to realize that, I cut that autopilot off. And that's when things began to shift. Because the Matrix isn't a place, it's a pattern of distraction, a pattern of routine, and a pattern of not questioning. It's not about physically being trapped, but about mentally being occupied. Because I'm going to give you guys a key. If your mind is constantly distracted, you never become aware. And you know how I like to say, awareness is the one thing that breaks the pattern. Because once you start seeing clearly, you can't pretend like you don't notice things anymore. You start questioning things that you used to accept, and you start paying attention to things around you, the things that you used to ignore. You start thinking differently, moving differently, and choosing differently. And that's when the real separation starts to begin. Not between people, not between your friends, not between your family, but between awareness and distraction. And most people, they decide to stay in the pattern. And it's not because they can't leave, but because they don't even really realize they're aware and they're in it. But once you start to realize it, that's when you have a choice. And you can either stay comfortable or you can wake up. And waking up doesn't mean you disappear from the world, guys. It doesn't mean you start to think that you're better than anybody else. It just means you start living with intention instead of living with a habit. And you start being aware of what you're consuming, like we talked about, and what you're giving your attention to, like what you watch on TV, the people you hang around, things like that. And what's really influencing your life. And once you start seeing those patterns, you stop moving unconsciously. And that's when everything starts to change. And let me tell you guys, it doesn't change all at one time. It's not like a big hit, like, oh, boom, I see it, so now everything changes. No, it happens little by little. Because I'm going to tell y'all something that I didn't tell you about awareness. Awareness isn't loud, but it's real quiet. And it shows up in ways that you wouldn't even expect. The way that you move, you start to choose what deserves your time. And the more that you become aware, the harder it is to go back to the way that you used to live. Like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So the real question here isn't what is the Matrix, but it's, are you aware of the pattern or are you still living inside of it? In between, I don't judge how you learn to cope.